welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys from Canada, you know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. We love nobody more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful July the 27th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, I was walking around confused today, so I started going to a scrapbook and, pulled out an old contract because I couldn't remember whether I officially retired or I didn't, So I was trying to see if I might get franchise tagged or if there was something left on the paper that might award me some money almost 30 years later.
Yeah. Well, I hope you found that paper, Big C. A lot of guys are liking the Benjamins. I was talking to a good insurance partner today, and he said he's in love with the Benjamins. I said, hey, well, nothing wrong with that. All fair. You can love who you want to love. He said, no, I love Benjamins in my pocket. So he's in love with Benjamins too, Big C. I think everybody's in love with Benjamins. A lot of stuff going on in the sports universe. Our good old brethren from Canada got some good CFL football happening. A lot of people getting ready to kick off in August in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Baseball. It looks like baseball is going to still try to way to compete with the top 10 in baseball. Surprising fact that the Oakland A's are one of the top 10 teams in the power rankings in Major League Baseball. And, of course, some couple of signings, some news happening in the NBA. But, Big C, I just want to say to all the people in Northern California, and I know you talked about it earlier in the week, there's a lot of fires in California. I'm seeing 747s that are loaded with fire retardant, and they're flying up in Yosemite. They're flying up in Northern California. In fact, there were some people that were told to get out, and they still haven't heeded the warning to get out when they're telling you we're using 747s to drop fire retardant. Isn't that a big enough sign, Big C, to get out?
Well, Charlton, just the words "get out." Leave the area. If you have personal items and you want to take a few of them, do that, Charlton.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if it's not something that's an heirloom or whatever, go. That's why you have insurance.
Yeah.
Pull out your camera, your iPad, whatever. Start taking pictures of everything there in the house.
Yes.
But leave, Charlton.
Yeah.
Save your life. I mean, it's nice to have a home that, you've invested everything into. But it's also your life that is what lives in that home, Charlton, and it's created that opportunity for memories.
Yep.
When we look at our national service people, Charlton, when they tell you to heed the warnings, to take cover, to leave a particular hazardous or dangerous area, Charlton, they're thinking about your safety because they're standing behind fighting the fires, Charlton, trying to save what you have as physical items.
Yeah.
They have no emotional investment in that, Charlton. It's their job.
Yeah.
Your emotional investment many times have cost Americans their lives, Charlton, staying behind, not heeding the warnings and floods and tornado-ridden areas, Charlton, and fires. But please, if the National Service, tell you to leave a particular area, heed that warning and go.
Yeah, they do have to do that. I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. And I want people to know that even when I look at what happened just last year in Napa, California, they had the Napa fires, and there were a lot of people who they didn't leave. I mean, but that happened when people were asleep. The ones happening now where the Yosemite are even ready, they can get out. They had to evacuate a TV station, Big C. They were coming on the air and telling people what to do. The fire got so bad, they had to evacuate the TV station, and they were showing some people on the ground with cameras, and they have what's the first time in my life I heard of fire tornadoes, where the wind was blowing so hard and the ground is so dry, they were swirling around like tornadoes, but it was fire. Have you ever noticed something like that down south, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I saw the movie 10 Commandments years ago.
Yep.
Cecil B. DeMille had Charlton Heston in the movie. when he was up on Mount Arad and there was a wind tornado of fire. So that's my only interaction with, a scene like that on the movie Ten Commandments.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, just to see it even on TV is kind of scary. So a lot of hope and praise and even prayers go out to the firefighters who are out there putting their lives on the line to help people that just won't leave. Doesn't make any sense. Big C, in the world of sports, I know we talk about football in the United States, but a league that's been around a lot longer than the NFL is the CFL. I just want to give homage to our listeners in Canada, because there's a lot of good football being played. The field's a little bit longer, a little bit wider. Players have to be a little bit faster to make it up in Canada. But I do want to just run down some of the standings right now in the Canadian Football League. In the East Division, Ottawa leads the pack at 3-2. Hamilton's 2-3. Toronto is 1-4 in that great city, and Montreal is 1-4. In the Western Division, Calgary is the only undefeated team at this time in the CFL. The Calgary Stampeders are 5-0, and they're mostly known as a ranch town, say for the cattle, but they have a great football program up there in Calgary. Edmonton, they're 3-2 on the season. Saskatchewan, they are 3-2, followed by Winnipeg at 3-3, and the beautiful city of British Columbia, Vancouver, British Columbia, 2-3. They play actually tonight's Toronto at Winnipeg. But the CFL has had so many great teams and great players come through their stomping ground over the years, and a lot of times people don't realize that there's a lot of people that come from the United States, go up to Canada to play football, and then make their way back down south. It's amazing they call the United States down south, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at it, there's been a lot of Super Bowl representation, Charlton, come out of the Canadian Football League. If you go back years ago, Brett Grant, the Minnesota Vikings, Super Bowl IV against the Kansas City Chiefs,
yes,
came from the Canadian Football League, where he actually coached in Winnipeg, Charlton, and won multiple championships up there.
Yeah.
And he also brought a quarterback down to the United States along with him, a kid named Joe Kapp, who had played at Cal, and took the Vikings to their first Super Bowl under Joe Kapp, but they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, Charlton. Marv Levy. When you think about Marv Levy, and Brett Grant, Charlton,
yes,
combined have gone to 8 Super Bowls. They didn't win any, Charlton, but they've gone 8 Super Bowls. Both of those coaches coached in the Canadian Football League.
Oh, really? Okay.
So when you think about representation from the Canadian Football League, Charlton, we all know about Warren Moon and his exploits in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Joe Theismann won a Super Bowl as a quarterback with the Washington Redskins. He had played in Toronto. Doug Flutie, we all know he had a storied career up in Canada as he bounced around in the NFL and had some success in a couple cities in San Diego,
yeah,
Chicago, and Buffalo, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when you think about the rich history of that league, Charlton, over the years, many of quarterbacks have come from that league. I remember there was a quarterback named Dieter Bronk when the Bears won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And, he took the Rams along with Eric Dickerson to that NFC Championship game, and nobody could beat the Bears that year. The Dolphins lucked up and knocked them off on a Monday night game, Charlton.
Yeah.
But there's a rich history from that league, Charlton, of sending players down here to the United States. There was another quarterback, Eric Kramer, I believe it was, who took the Detroit Lions to the NFC Championship game against the Washington Redskins.
Yes.
And when Mark Rippon won the Super Bowl for the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
So, there's a long, illustrious history, Charlton, of coaching carousel, of players going back and forth between the two leagues. I think in 1979, the NFL #1 overall draft pick, Tom Cousineau, linebacker out of Ohio State,
yes,
went to the Montreal Alouettes and spurned the Buffalo Bills, Charlton, becoming the first overall #1 draft pick in the NFL to go to Canada because the money was better at that time in Canada.
That's amazing, Big C. The thing that I know that made football exciting, we talk about different leagues coming and going and what league is better, whether it's National League or American League or the NFC, AFC, Eastern Conference, Western Conference. When I look at Canada and the United States, how we've gotten along as sovereign countries, but countries that also, we export product to each other. When the CFL expanded into the United States, I believe that was right around the late 90s, and they had teams that came all throughout the United States, and I think Doug Flutie actually played. I remember seeing him play up in Sacramento. I believe they were playing the Sacramento Surge or the Sacramento Gold Miners, and that was when the CFL merged into a lot of United States cities. I thought that was a great thing, the way NHL has done the same thing, because you bring both countries together. What made that not happen, Big C? Why did they not continue that expansion the way the NHL has, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it was an intriguing move, Charlton, when you did see the CFL come down to the United States, and I think they probably were in about a half dozen cities.
Yeah.
And I think the marketing part of it, Charlton, was probably the biggest faux pas that they did not capture. I don't think that they, signed any marketing deals down here in the U.S. as far as television-wise. I think it was only broadcast back in Canada.
Yeah.
So I think that might have been where they missed the boat, Charlton, not having a broadcast deal here in the United States.
Yeah.
I know there were several cities around. I know you talked about the one in Sacramento. I think they had a team in Baltimore.
I think Birmingham also.
Birmingham. San Antonio, Birmingham. I think Shreveport and Memphis, where they had teams. But I thought when they had the expansion, Charlton, that they might have stayed closer to the border.
Yeah.
If they'd have stayed more in the northern part of the United States, where I think people may have had a more familiarity with the Canadian Football League. You look at the number of border states, even in northern New York. I mean, there's areas up there.
Yeah.
You look at the Montanas, you look at the Dakotas, Charlton. Even Idaho and even Washington. I understand, you have the Seahawks up there, but there's plenty of other cities up in the state of Washington, Charlton, that may have been an attraction.
Yeah.
We know that Minnesota's up there, Green Bay, Illinois. Those cities, there were some smaller cities, Charlton, that may have supported that league, Charlton, if they'd have stayed up north.
Yeah.
Where I think they might get some Canadian television up there, Charlton, and people have grown accustomed to seeing the games.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it's worked so well in the NHL event. Think about it. When the NHL is expanding, we have teams in Memphis. We have teams in Las Vegas, of all places. Teams down in the state of Arizona. So I thought the CFL was doing something marvelous, but I know sometimes when you get into TV and who's going to get what broadcasting rights, sometimes that can nix the whole deal. But I thought it was a great way to expand sports between the United States and Canada, the same way baseball is done. And then even in a deal I still can't understand when we go to the NBA, how we have the Toronto Raptors, but the Vancouver Grizzlies, before they went down south, became the Memphis Grizzlies. I thought they had a phenomenal city. Vancouver's a gorgeous city. It's a city where a lot of people come from all over the world to see. And I don't know why the NBA did not make that happen. I believe there was some talk about trying to get a new arena, and that didn't happen. And so they leave a gorgeous city like Vancouver. Nothing wrong with Memphis, but I think most people who've been to both cities, I would say Vancouver has a lot more to offer. Why did that deal not work out, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think it was more so at the time that the Seattle Supersonics were in Seattle. And, you were looking at marketing rights, more than anything else. That there was a constant battle conflictually there.
Yeah.
And, they did build a new arena there, Charlton, a very modern arena where the Vancouver Canucks play.
Yeah.
They had the NHL hockey. But, when you looked at the proximity of those two cities, I think there might be 3 or 4 hour drive apart, Charlton, maybe an hour flight. And, I think Seattle had depended a lot on Canadians coming down to watch games in Key Arena, before the Sonics left.
Yeah.
And, we've seen that with other cities, Charlton, where they've talked about intimate domain. We've seen that with the NFL in Buffalo, where for years, the owner of the Bills prior to him passing, Charlton, fought the NFL going into Toronto, stating intimate domain that a lot of Canadians were season ticket holders down in Buffalo, with the Bills.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things that you look at, because when you talk about a picturesque, beautiful city, that's Vancouver, and you leave Vancouver for Memphis.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking Memphis,
but
no. They got some great ribs.
They got some great ribs.
But, just a comparison between the two backdrops, Charlton, it couldn't be a more picturesque city. I mean, you think about it, they've had the Winter Olympics in Vancouver, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's hosted, events like that. And so you think of it's a world-class city. I'm not saying that Memphis is not, but a world-class city that can't keep a professional organization is kind of difficult to understand.
Yeah, and even when you talk about that eminent domain rights, when you had the Seattle Supersonics, the reason I'm understanding, Stern was trying to get use his magic to get a new arena in Seattle, and something happened with just some personalities, and he said, well, forget it, and they ended up moving out of there. Again, a great city like Seattle. I know Boeing's really big up there, and going into Oklahoma City. If you've ever been on Puget Sound, you can't catch fish in Oklahoma City the way you can in Seattle. They don't need the fish in Seattle. They throw them to you. That's how nice the people are up north. When you go down to Oklahoma to go fishing, you got to put that hook in the water. In Seattle, they're kind enough to toss them to you. Have you had that experience, Big C?
Well, Charleston, you need a hook in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
All you need is your hands in Seattle. But, you think about it. You had two NBA teams leave a geographical area, Charleston.
Gorgeous area.
In a couple of years of each other. One of the most picturesque scenes between those two cities. I mean, who would not want to live on the ocean, Charleston? And, everyone talks about having oceanfront property.
Yep.
But, you left both of those for basically Midwest cities.
Yeah, that's true.
When you look at media market, how would Oklahoma City compare as a media market to Seattle, Charleston?
Yeah, they don't.
I think it's a lot lower on the scale. I'm not sure how you rank the Canadian markets where Vancouver is, as far as the NBA rankings. But I think, as far as from a player's perspective, living and playing, I think those two cities were more attractive and had a lot more appeal. But, who knows who does what for business decisions?
Yeah, it's always.
We just know that teams, it has become second nature for teams to leave cities. And we constantly get this cry in the media when a player wants to hold out, wants a new contract. Everyone acts almost like these players are Judas when you listen to the media. Is that, how dare him hold out and want more money?
Yep.
Now, refresh my memory. Isn't that what Mark Davis did in Oakland?
Yeah.
Is that he wanted more money and more bling?
Yeah.
So he said, I want a stadium and want money. So who's willing to pay?
Yeah.
Las Vegas. So when franchises can be free agents, we just had the Rams leave St. Louis hanging after 20 years.
Yeah.
They walked away from them. No questions asked. When the coach left, but when a billionaire owner says, I'm tired of having a relationship with you.
Yes.
I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do. I've taken your money for decades, okay?
Yeah.
Appreciate it. But when we leave, don't even worry about closing the door.
No.
You're not coming back.
No, even that's true.
And I'm looking at these players, Charleston, that say, I'm not going to training camp now in the NFL.
Yeah.
I want my deal renegotiated. And teams are saying, well, no, because you signed this deal a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Now, I think every one of these professional organizations, Charleston, sign a deal with these cities, okay?
They do.
They adopt the city's name. They create a logo that's, affiliated with the city, Charleston.
Yeah.
They have a fan base that goes to work every day. They take the check to the bank, they cash it. They buy season tickets because most of these places starting now say you have to buy a seat license.
Seat license, yeah.
Just to even buy a seat.
Yeah.
To buy a ticket for the game, you have to own a seat license before you can buy a ticket. So these fans dedicate themselves to you with loyalty. They give you all of their hard-earned cash, whether you're winning or losing. And then you slap this fan in the face and say, I really don't care about you.
Yeah.
Because somebody else is going to give me a new house. I don't have to pay as much, of revenue for this facility, for upkeep, rent, lease, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to walk away from you. And you have no recourse as a fan.
No, you don't.
And we got the Oakland Raiders with John Gruden coming in and said, well, we're going to give them the best football we can for 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm not guaranteeing that we'll win, but we're going to give them the best football we can for 2 years. Think about the double slap in the face.
Yeah.
The owner walked away, and you got a coach saying, I'm not even going to guarantee you that we'll win.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend of mine from Chicago. He was talking about the Bears. I think they were opening their camp today, or actually this weekend. And he was asking me, he said, has Oakland left yet? Now, this is a big-time guy for loving football in the Midwest, loves the Bears, followed the Bears for all of his life. But he didn't know if the Oakland Raiders had left yet. And I think part of that sting is if the Dallas Cowboys had moved everywhere but no, but they did leave, Dallas, Fort Worth, and moved out to Arlington. So, but they didn't really move. That's just moving down the street. But the Oakland Raiders have been one of the most storied franchises in all of sports, Big C. And for people not to know if they've left yet, it shows you how irrelevant they become on the world scale when it comes to NFL football. Only one playoff game in the last decade. And, of course, we want them to do well, especially me being out here in California. For all the fans in Northern California that still love the Raiders, and to see what they've done and how they're slapping you in the face, it really is analogous to your spouse saying, okay, I found a new man. He's a little younger than you. In fact, he's worth $1.5 billion. I'm going to leave you for him, but I'm going to give you the next 2 years of the best loving you ever have, Pixie. How many people would show up on Sunday to get some of that loving, Pixie? Your thoughts?
And that's the hurtful part about the fan, Charlton, is that the fan is just loyal.
Yep.
They've been loyal.
Loyal or stupid, Big Z?
In the last decade and a half.
Yeah. Is it loyal or stupid? Yeah. Yeah.
And they still go.
Yeah.
And then you tell them, so, we're leaving you.
For another man.
Walking away.
Yeah.
All that money you've been investing, keep investing for the next 2 years until we get our new stadium built.
Yeah.
Then we're going to leave. And if you want to come see us in our new stadium,
yeah,
we're going to make you buy a personal seat license. We're going to charge you even more. And you got to travel to get there. To come to a home game, you have to pay for hotel, airfare, all these things.
Yeah.
So at one point, will the fans say enough is enough? Now, television can constantly keep griping about the ratings are down.
Yeah.
The ratings are not down, Charlton.
They're being screamed.
The fans are down.
Yeah.
Okay? They're down because of what teams are doing to them and not doing for them.
Yeah.
You can't say that the impact of a minority player taking a knee is more impactful and hurtful to the league than a team packing up and leaving the fans behind.
That's a very good point. And ironically, we talked about football in Canada with the CFL, talking about some of the teams that have left Canada, gorgeous cities, and also Seattle, Washington, beautiful city of the great Northwest, to go south to smaller markets. But football teams leaving on the professional level and pro teams in basketball and baseball leaving on the professional level has a sting to the community. But I want to think back to some of the programs, the college football programs in California alone, that have folded their tent. They've closed the door. They no longer kick off on Sunday or Saturdays, especially Saturdays for college football. This is just a number of schools, Big C, since 1990s that used to play football on Saturday, had the football stadiums packed, great for the alumni to come back, great for the colleges. Would you believe, just to name a few schools, University of Pacific in Stockton, UOP, Pete Carroll's alma mater, that program folded. They had a beautiful 35,000-seat stadium in the heart of the Central Valley, farming community, but a great place to watch football. University of Santa Clara, they've also folded. Steve Nash's school, when he played basketball there, but their football program.
Dan Pastorini, who was the number one drafted second quarterback taken in the draft behind Jim Plunkett.
Yeah, they're gone.
They also had an all-pro Super Bowl winning tight end, Doug Cosby.
Yeah.
Who played with the Dallas Cowboys for a decade.
Yep, some fantastic players. Cal State Hayward, their football program is gone. They used to play football there in the East Bay, just south of Oakland, about a good 30-minute drive south of Oakland. They're no longer playing football. They closed their program up. There's another university called the University of St. Mary's, and that's over in Moraga. Now, we know they have a good basketball program. They're playing out there in the West Coast Conference. That football program folded. Used to be a nice, solid Division II or 1AA program. That's gone. San Francisco State is gone, the Gators. In the beautiful city of San Francisco, that football program is gone. Also, Cal State Chico up north at one time was voted the best party school by Sports Illustrated, I believe. I don't think anybody would understand where Chico is, but it's about 2 hours north of Sacramento. And then Cal State Fullerton, they're gone. St. Mary's, we talked about them. Long Beach State is gone. Cal State Northridge. That's about 10 solid programs that were playing football 20 years ago. So just because something's here today, it doesn't mean it's going to be there tomorrow. Talk about the impact that has on college football when they not only just leave, but they close the programs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, so many financial rewards from having college sports. And you think about football, it's normally the leading revenue generator of an athletic program on a campus.
Yeah.
But when you think about the rich history of a lot of those universities, Charlton, and the involvement of their sports program through football, and now it's gone. Your alumni are no longer there. The players who have played in the past, their history is basically gone.
Yep.
But, nothing to look forward to on that campus on Saturday. And you think about, it's a party on campus on Saturday. When you bring back the alumni, you have the current students, Charlton.
Yeah.
You have the boosters around. You have just the community around. But to not have these programs compete anymore, and for whatever reason that you want to say that, it wasn't financially solvent, I know that Title IX is taking a lot of money from a lot of sports, Charlton, because they don't always generate revenue.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, and you go back and you look at some of those programs you named, Charlton, some of those programs have guys who are in college football's Hall of Fame that have played extensive pro football careers, Charlton.
Yeah.
And, their legacy is gone now.
It's gone.
Because the program has been wiped away. Stadiums have been closed, some torn down.
Yeah.
But, this is where we've gotten to in sports, where the rich keep getting richer and there's no revenue shared throughout the country.
Yeah.
We talked about the high school teams, the IMG Academy going out to play modern day.
Yes.
In a high school game.
Yeah.
You think about the money that's put forth, by the broadcast companies for those two independent schools that will benefit. They're not playing in a conference, Charlton, so they don't have to split the money.
Yeah.
We've talked before about the historical black colleges, how the networks would not cover their games, but they would cover a cornhole tossing contest.
Yeah.
You think about the importance of what people put on games in America.
Yeah.
Well, 50 years ago, those players now that are in major mainstream universities
Yes.
were the backbone of those historical black colleges and a feeder system for the NFL.
Yeah. Well, Big C, until you've seen a corn chip tossing contest, you can't really
Cornhole.
Okay, if you think that's good, go to the corn chip tossing contest. I had some friends out in Montana, and I'll never forget, it was about maybe 20 degrees. I was cold, but this guy had some horses. And so we went out to round up these horses, and he said, okay, these horses, they're going to come running at you. There's about 20 horses he had on his ranch. And I said, so what do we do when the horses come at you? He said, stand still, because if you run, you might get trampled. But they don't run at objects that are standing still, but they can run over objects that are moving. Talk about having a horse that weighs a lot more than I do, running at you at about 40 miles per hour. And he said, stand still. I found my own cow chip to toss, Big C, from that experience. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, talking that's when you got to turn your back on the situation and just play.
Yeah.
And hopefully that horse, can see straight.
Yeah.
They're not looking out of the side of his head.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of guts. But you have to know what animals do.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is horses will not step on people when they're on the ground.
Yeah.
They will step over them.
Yeah.
So, horses are pretty intriguing when you look at them as a whole. I would love to be justified next week, but
yeah.
Horses at times can have wonderful lives.
Yeah, that's true. They do have wonderful lives, but I found out that was part of their entertainment, Big C, was also to get the horses wrapped up. And so in the world of Major League Baseball, just to finish off the talk about college programs that are gone. And you talked about the school IMG of Florida. They're going out to California to play modern day. Well, they're also going up to Washington, D.C. They're playing a school up in Washington, D.C. called DeMatha, which is one of the top high school programs in the Washington, D.C. area. So I don't know how far D.C. is from Florida, but I'm going to assume it's maybe a good 1,600 miles. So not only will they make that trip from Florida, they're going to make the trip out to California. That is amazing for programs, high schools to do that, but college programs can't stay funded. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, and you have to realize that maybe these alumni, are footing the bill to a degree, but I can't think of a high school having more alumni, in a wealth position, Charlton, than the colleges.
Yeah.
But, this comes back to our government also, Charlton, in pulling the funding from these universities.
Yeah.
For whatever reason that they do. Everyone deserves the right to have an opportunity to, if they want to play athletics at a university level, they have those programs funded.
Yeah.
And, you wonder, how do these universities benefit? Because think about all that you lose not having these sports programs, Charlton, when you look around the country and you see these programs that are programmed. And we talked about many of these programs have had former NFL players that have gone through the programs. And so many former athletes, Charlton, donate back when they make it to the next level.
Yeah.
They set up endowments at these universities. They put back into the athletic programs. And for these programs not to be there, you think about, you said Pete Carroll, who played there
UOP.
at UOP.
Yeah.
Marvin Lewis played there also, Charlton.
Oh, really?
As well as Dirk Cutter. No, I take that back. They both played at Idaho State.
Yeah.
But, when you look at these programs, but there's been many other NFL players that played there, other than Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Joe Perry played there, Charlton, who played with the San Francisco 49ers, great Hall of Fame running back.
Yeah.
So when you look at these players, Charlton, that have been a part of these rich histories, and then you just wipe it off like it never existed.
Just gone.
How do you think it impacted these players, Charlton, that once played at these universities?
Yep, and that's true. And if you've ever had the chance to understand where UOP is, the 49ers used to play there for their preseason, and they would sell out 35,000, which I think is the same capacity up at Washington State in the Pac-12 conference. So it's not as if they were a 10,000-seat college football stadium. They had big-time football there, but that's gone, and that's just part of what happens in the world of business. As we swing the baton across to Major League Baseball, some of the power teams, and I feel for baseball because more people are still talking about what's happening in football. Right now, football hasn't kicked off yet, but it's still more exciting than baseball. But I still want to look at the Houston Astros. When you look at the power teams, they're considered right now the best team. They won over 100 games last year, and they're on pace to go over 100 wins again. That would be back-to-back seasons, the first time that's happened since the Cardinals 2004, 2005, and no other American League team, Big C, has done it since the Yankees of 2002 and 2004. That Houston team is young. This might be something we see for the next 5 or 6 years to come, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they're a very promising team, and moving it into the World Series hunt once again. They have a contend this year with the Boston Red Sox, who are going to be a serious contender when you think about what they've done in the East. I mean, Houston stayed healthy this year. That's the key in baseball, is being healthy. We look at the moves that teams are making now. The Yankees have picked up a couple of pitchers in the last week, trying to secure that wild card position, Charlton. But Houston has just been solid. I mean, another team in the American League that's been hot, that's going under the radar, is Oakland A's.
Can you believe that?
You talk about a city of Oakland that, really flies under the radar. This team, Charlton, has won 7 straight games.
Yeah.
And so when you put together streaks of 10 to 13 games, Charlton, where you dominate your opponents, you can make a serious move, Charlton, in your division bracket in baseball, and that's what the A's are doing right now. They're surging just like the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, they really are. The amazing thing about Oakland, they've talked about leaving, but they haven't left. Now, the teams that have won are leaving. At least if you look at the history, the A's have 3 World Series championships. Golden State's going back to San Francisco, and the Raiders, of course, going down to Los Angeles. But I look at where they are in Week 15, and they're playing some good baseball at Oakland. Still have a hard time seeing them sell out. It's just a big cavernous stadium. What I do like about the Coliseum, when I was a young boy going there to watch the Oakland A's play, this back in the era of Reggie Jackson when he played there, and they had so many great players. Ricky Henderson won, can't forget him, Dave Stewart. They didn't have what's called Mount Davis. In fact, when you were at the home run plate, when you hit a home run, Mount Davis did not exist. They had some bleacher seating out there where you could actually see over into the East Bay Hills, which is a lot like Chavez Ravine down at Dodger Stadium. When they built Mount Davis, it killed the environment for baseball. Now, the city of Oakland, county of Alameda, they appeased the Oakland Raiders because the Raiders had so many promises under Al Davis. And after building a stadium that really made baseball not enjoyable to watch, now the team they tried to appease, Big C, just like you said, they're saying thanks for the money, thanks for all the times you tried to do something for us, but now we're leaving you for something prettier, and the A's are still there, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's iconic, Charlton, that those that you think that you're courting, that you're giving all your affection and emotion to, just all of a sudden decide one day, say, I don't need you anymore.
Is that like the Trump administration with him and Cohen? So they've taped the conversation, the Oakland with the Alameda County. So they taped it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Maybe should have took some pictures of it, Charlton. This is that type of situation that here are all these fans who, when the Raiders came back from Los Angeles, forced to buy a personal seat license.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get into the game, Charlton. And they did a good job of selling tickets there. You know, the Raiders weren't winning, and they stayed there, Charlton.
No.
They given them one winning season and then turned around, went back to that old form.
Yeah.
And you know, success is not what they wanted. It's no longer just win, baby.
Yeah.
That you heard for years under the late Al Davis. Just win, baby.
I forgot that.
Regardless of anything else.
Big C. I forgot just win, baby, because they haven't won that much lately. But that's right. That is a Oakland Raider moniker. That's Al Davis, just win, baby. But it's more just a word now. It's like it's not the real McCoy anymore. But it's amazing you brought that up because we haven't heard that in so long. But hopefully they can get that moniker back. But even if they do, it's a shame that it won't be in the city of Oakland. And also just a few other teams in baseball that are having some success this season. You look at the Cubs. Obviously, the Cubs are competing to get into the NLC if they want to. If they have the pitching for it, we'll see how it holds up. Dodgers, I think the Dodgers, if anyone can challenge what Houston is doing in the National League, it might be the Dodgers. I really think they have the players and they...
Well, you got to keep an eye on the Diamondbacks also. They're running under the radar out there in the desert, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have a solid starting lineup. They've gotten excellent pitching this season, Charlton. And no one's paying attention to them. And that's team to catch in the desert.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hate the desert. There's something about Arizona and the way they treat minorities, and there's so many minority baseball players in the Diamondbacks. And when you're playing in the stadium, yeah, that's one thing. But you know, there's such a bad cultural environment for even the athletes when they're not in the stadium and they don't have the uniforms on, Big C. I know that's not something that people talk about on TV too much, but when you have this war of minorities of people of color, and a lot of their teammates are Latin, I'm sure they have stories to tell that sometimes they're told to shut up and play the game too. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, or a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. They're also endorsed by the NCAA. Big C, down in your neck of the woods, when we look at contracts, I know out here UCLA brought on Chip Kelly, and they hope that Chip Kelly can give the UCLA Bruins what Nick Saban has given the Alabama Crimson Tide. But the University of Alabama, I believe they gave Nick Saban an extension to his contract to run another, the 2025 now, do we, Big C, your thoughts?
Yeah, they added another year to his contract, Charlton. You know, and I'm trying to figure out, Nick's 67 years old.
Yeah.
So I guess they want to time up till he's 75. So they stuck a one-year extension on his contract. No financial terms were disclosed, but we know it's well over $11 million because that's what he's making already this year.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
But the players still can't get paid.
No.
That's
allegedly can't get paid. Allegedly can't get paid in public.
Well, we want it to be
out in the books.
Able to get income tax returns on the chart.
Yeah.
We want them to pay their income tax, so we want them to get paid legally.
Yeah. Well,
when you're constantly shelling out the money for these coaches, and you talked about those programs on the West Coast that are no longer, active.
That's a shame.
That are now, history. They're only a memory.
Yeah.
And you think about with the money that you pay some of these coaches on a yearly basis, Harbaugh, Saban, Dabo Swinney, Jimbo Fisher, that would have funded those programs, Charlton.
Yeah.
1 year of those salaries would have funded those programs. So, you think about the unfairness of athletics, and a lot of that, Charlton, has to do with the television networks.
Yeah.
Because they don't broadcast these games. They broadcast high school football and won't broadcast this college football on certain levels.
That's a very good point.
And so it makes those guys suffer. I mean, it's great to see the high school kids, but Charlton, that was one of the major things that I know when I was growing up and choosing a college is that everybody was interested on.
Yeah.
Would we have an opportunity to be seen on television? That was a major draw to the schools that were recruiting you back in those days, Charlton.
Yeah.
Would I have an opportunity to be on television? And coaches sold you on that.
Yeah.
Your family's going to have a chance to see you once or twice on TV this year.
Yeah.
And if we make a bowl game, they're going to see you in the bowl game. That was a big draw deal. Now, they broadcast so many games, Charlton, on all these different networks, but they still leave out some of these smaller schools that don't get an opportunity to reap the financial impact of these programs.
Well, more stuff on the high school sports, Big C. There's a school down in Las Vegas called Bishop Gorman. They're a private school, relatively new school. A lot of great athletes have their kids go there. In fact, Snoop Dogg, who lived in Southern California, his kid went there before going to UCLA. That's a pretty long daddy driving his son to school from LA to Las Vegas. But he went there as well as a lot of other kids. I think Randall Cunningham's kid went there also to Bishop Gorman. They're going up north to the Bay Area to play a school called De La Salle out of Concord, California. They've won several national championships. The school known for the famous 151-game winning streak. Bishop Gorman is going up to play them. And so that's another thing where that's going to be on television. That game will be televised by ESPN, one of the networks, but there'll be other programs in college that won't get televised. In fact, the programs that are just gone. But also, I mean, that's great for the schools that have the money, but for the ones that don't, congratulations, Nick Saban, and hopefully some of the other programs will find that money. And while we're still down south, I want to jump over to the world of NBA because we talked about it last year during the NBA Western Conference Finals, Houston and Golden State. Capella thought he was a lion of an athlete, a dominant player. Akeem Olajuwon, no. Could he be Ralph Sampson? Yes. He just signed a 5-year, $90 million deal. Big C, does that mean they want him to stay in Houston, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, they desperately needed to keep him in the fold. He is an integral part of their defense. I mean, he's the guy that's going to hit the boards. He's going to be that stopper in the middle. And if they're going to compete against Golden State, even Los Angeles, Charlton, in the West, and San Antonio, they had to keep Capella in-house because they had nobody else that could play defense like him. The man has gotten older.
Yeah.
He's not as useful, can't get up and down the floor. But with Golden State just signing Cousins, the Lakers just signing McGee, and even Dallas, is putting together a pretty good lineup. You kept Nowitzki there. They're bringing DeAndre Jordan over, Charlton. And we know that Aldridge is still young enough in San Antonio to be impactful.
Yeah.
So Capella was quite integral in staying in Houston to keep that team intact, Charlton.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something that drives them. But, Big C, can you tell me the last time that Chris Paul stayed healthy in the playoffs? I remember him being hurt against Portland. They got knocked out of that when he was with the Clippers. I remember him getting hurt against Golden State. Okay, that's a time when he got hurt. They actually had the lead in that series. I don't think they're ever going to win the series, but they had the lead. So Capella is more powerful of keeping him on the team than trying to appease Chris Paul. I know people may not see it that way, but it doesn't matter how much money you make if you're always missing the last couple of games because you're injured. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, Capella's a young player, Charlton, and he's part of, stabilizing that team. Chris Paul has been an enigma over the years, Charlton, because of the injuries that he is having to get late in the year. Maybe, they need to find a way to rest him earlier in the season and not have him so weary when it comes late in the year.
Yeah.
But he's had some intriguing injuries, and it seemed to have cost the Clippers as well as the Rockets, Charlton, in their playoff runs with him not being in the lineup.
Yep, that's true, too. I think even with that signing of Capella staying there, I do want to get your thoughts again because you mentioned the teams they have to beat. You didn't mention, OKC's going to be solid, too. They're going to be a solid basketball team. But you also mentioned the Lakers in that, and this is not what Magic Johnson really anticipated, but I think he's done the best he can getting King James to come there and then having a few other good players that he brought into the Lakers mix. It's not Paul George, but when's the last time Paul George has been in a championship game? He hasn't. So I think with Magic, maybe he's onto something with LeBron James. But are you saying that you think the Lakers are in position to challenge Golden State as much as Houston is? Big C, your thoughts? And OKC too?
Well, Charlton, you got to look at some of the lineage that the Lakers have just brought in. LeBron James has been to the championship on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
JaVale McGee has championship rings as well as LeBron does. Beasley, they just signed, has championship rings from Miami. So they brought in some players that have winning lineage. LeBron hasn't had that before. You think about where LeBron has gone.
Yeah.
He's gone to Miami. He's come back to Cleveland. The only time LeBron had another player on the roster with him that had ever won a championship was in Miami.
Yeah.
When he had Ray Allen, and in Cleveland when he brought in Shaq late in his career. So when they have players that have championship rings from other teams, LeBron has been in a position to win a championship. Last time was with Ray Allen.
Yeah.
So these are the things you look at. You bring in players that are used to winning, and everybody is saying they're a bunch of misfits. Stevens was used to winning in Indianapolis. You know, he's always been a thorn in LeBron's side. Now he can be his sidekick.
Yeah,
So,
as long as he stop blowing on him, Big C. No more blowing on LeBron now that he's a teammate. You think he can stop blowing so much, trying to intimidate him that way, Big C? Your thoughts?
But, you know, if they can make a 15-game swing, you got to realize the Lakers won 35 games last year, Charles.
Yeah.
If they increase that by 15 wins, that's a 50-win team now.
Yeah.
That's the fourth-ranked team in the West. So this is a team that can challenge. You know, we saw what LeBron did last year with a 50-win team in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So they're not far away, Charlton, with the talent that they brought in and some players that they had on the roster to reaching 50 wins. Now, if they do that, that's a turnaround season in L.A. that gives a lot of hope.
And is there any way to believe that LeBron James would ever be on a team that does not get enough benefit of the doubt on the calls, where he's driving the basket, where he's giving you the body the way, you know, Shaq used to do back in the day, or Karl Malone would always give that kick-out leg, and they always found a way to get the call. I don't think anyone can surmise that LeBron James won't get calls for L.A., and that's oftentimes the difference in whether you win a game or lose a game when it comes down to the last possession or so. I think that will carry over into Los Angeles the same way it carried over when Magic always got the benefit of the doubt. What could have been a charge was always called, you know, the defensive foul. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, you know that LeBron is going to get his calls. You know, he's that type of player. He creates contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and throughout his history, you know, whether it was in Cleveland, whether it was in Miami, Charlton, he got the benefit of the doubt, even when he initiated the contact.
Yeah.
You don't bring him to Los Angeles as a league to see him fail. You know, when you watch the number of games that you see Lakers in primetime broadcast next season coming up, Charlton, it will equal anyone. You can't remember the last time you saw the Lakers on a primetime broadcast. But I guarantee you'll get at least 10 of them this upcoming season, Charlton.
Yeah.
With the Lakers in primetime broadcast, because the marketing. Staples Center's already sold out, Charlton.
Yeah.
There's no empty seats in the house. Courtside seats went up.
Yeah.
You know, everybody will be there. It's must-see television again. It's Showtime Part 3 in Los Angeles coming up this upcoming season.
Showtime Part 3. What would you call Part 2? What would you call Part 1? Would it be back in the day when Wilt played, or would you go into the Kareem era, or would it be the Shaq-Kobe era? Because you're talking Hall of Famers now. Imagine lining up those Hall of Famers when you have...
You got to understand, when Wilt and West and Goodrich and Harrison and Baylor played, there was no TV.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
NBA wasn't on TV, so there wasn't a Showtime. Showtime came along with Dr. Buss.
Yeah.
At the Forum. The Forum invented Showtime, Charlton. Showtime Part 2 is when they moved to the Staples Center, when they brought Shaq in-house.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, with Phil, they started winning again, Charlton. It was much-see basketball. Lakers were the darling of the NBA once again, Charlton, when Shaq was in town.
Yeah.
Now they brought LeBron in. Part 3. You're bringing in another superstar. And when you look at the Lakers' history, Charlton, when they brought in Wilt from Philadelphia, they built a championship legacy, Charlton.
Yeah.
They won their first title on the West Coast. They won several times in Minneapolis, but they won their first West Coast title. Then they went out and brought in Kareem from Milwaukee. They built another staple, Charlton. One more championship. And each one of those, Charlton, were the most dominant players in the NBA when they brought them in. Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
Then they go out and get the biggest building in history, named Shaq. You know, and I think when they heard Shaq that they thought they were getting a building that they had to redo. You know, and then found out he only had 2 legs, you know, instead of 4 corners. You know, and all of a sudden, you had the most dominant player in the NBA once again in Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
So the Lakers have a history of when they rebuild, you go out and get the most dominant player in the league. You just don't bring in players, Charlton. You get the most dominant player.
Yeah.
And you build around them. And so that's what they've done for the 4th time. They've gone out and got the most dominant player in the NBA to build the franchise up once again, Charlton.
Yeah, that's incredible, Big C, when you think about the the players that will wear that purple and gold, and LeBron's just going to be the next of them. As we kick the ball to another sport, Taylor Lewan signs an $80 million extension with the Titans, $50 million guaranteed. Jake Matthews signs a 5-year extension with the Falcons, $75 million. Tell me what's going on in the world of football. We know the TV revenue is going to go up because of all the TV negotiations. It's amazing how their contracts are going up, TV revenue is going up, but they're saying the league is struggling. That's an oxymoron. Doesn't make any sense. How do you keep paying more of your revenues down, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, that's the interesting thing, Charlton. When they say the viewership is down, that means revenue would be down.
Yep.
But the revenue to the players keep going up. Taylor Lewan with his contract today, Charlton, the richest contract for an offensive lineman in NFL history. $50 million guaranteed for a left offensive tackle. It makes Marcus Mariota happy because he's his left side, right?
Yeah.
He's got the blind side covered for him.
Yeah.
Matthews, you pay Matt Ryan all that money in Atlanta. You got to make sure his offensive line is intact. Matthews was the number 1 draft pick 4 years ago at left offensive tackle, son of a Hall of Fame, linebacker that played with Cleveland. His granddad also played in the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
The Matthews family is, everybody say the Manning family is the first family of pro football. The Matthews family is most likely the first family of pro football.
Yeah.
They've had, 4 decades of players in the NFL, Charlton. So that's a family that's been around a long time.
Yep.
And not only that, Arthur Blank tossed Julio Jones little change today. Tossed him $2.9 million. Say, okay, we just want to keep you happy one more year.
Did Arthur pull it out of his pocket, Big C, or did he actually sit him down at the table and sign the contract? Does that just change? Is he just walking around with $2.9 million in his pocket, Big C?
I think it might have been in the back seat of his limo, Charlton. Because Arthur doesn't drive.
Arthur didn't drive. Arthur got it going on. I'm impressed with what he did when they built Mercedes-Benz Stadium down there in Georgia. They actually used a lot of the people who worked who lived in the community near Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but they did not have the skills necessary, but they got them training. Isn't that what we ask, business owners to do? You do training. And oftentimes, just a slight story with that, there's a lot of the training that's going on is for people that were just told, no, they can't cut it. But you gave them training. There's a story up in Northern California. There's a light rail system where they developed the light rails in a part of the city that's minority. But when it comes to getting contracts, it goes out to white contractors. And then that's all over Northern California. But for Blank to do what he did, he could have done the same thing, but he got a lot of people who lived in the community, and so I'm always proud when people do that. And speaking of contracts, again, Aaron Rodgers has 2 years left on his deal in Green Bay. If they don't work out a new deal, can they franchise him for 2 years? Why would they want to even take a chance on making him wait? They had 2 of the greatest quarterbacks in that organization's history. I know we look at Brett Favre, what he did, and now you look at Aaron Rodgers. That's pretty solid. Don't make him wait. Give him some money now, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is coming down to the thing. What have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
Aaron has had some injuries over the past couple of years. He has 2 years left on his deal where he's going to roughly make $23, $24 million a year over the next 2 years. If you have to franchise Aaron Rodgers, Charlton, you're going to franchise him out at $30 million.
Yeah.
Plus, think about that. He's going to get over $30 million to franchise him out. And if he did it for 2 years, think about how old Aaron Rodgers would be at that time, Charlton. Aaron Rodgers will have been in the NFL 16 years.
Yeah.
16 years at the end of that 2 franchises, Charlton. How many more years does Aaron Rodgers have? How much does he want to play?
Yeah.
Those are the things that people have to start considering when they start tossing out money to quarterbacks that have been around a long time. Aaron, if he wants to leave Green Bay, he can do what Brett Favre did.
Yeah.
When Brett Favre left, he came back and punished Green Bay.
Yeah.
What team that's on the verge of being there and need that one piece wouldn't take Aaron Rodgers after being franchised for 2 years?
That's a good point.
He would go in a heartbeat, Charlton.
Yeah.
To go to a warm weather climate where he's not freezing at the end of the year, possible dome stadium somewhere, Charlton.
Yeah.
On a team that's just a player away from getting there, Aaron Rodgers would be just like Brett Favre. without the Bounty Gate in New Orleans.
That's an interesting point. And I know he's much beloved up there in Green Bay in the frozen tundra. And thinking about a team and an organization that has so much history, I've always heard this song from my friends down in Texas. Something about the stars are bright, deep in the middle of the night, deep in the heart of Texas. So they got that big star on the side of their helmet. But they might get an F when it comes to social consciousness for their players. I think Stephen Jones, executive vice president of the Dallas Cowboys, said today, I mean, come on. If players don't stand for the national anthem, they're going to cut them. So is Prescott and Elliott going to be cut if they decide not to? I would hope that the league and these owners would get on the side of the players who have families that don't walk around with the Dallas Cowboys helmets and jerseys on. And sometimes, if they've ever understood, even watching the documentary 13th, that's still real. So how do the Cowboys, who have predominantly African-American athletes as their star players, Big C, and to spit in their face and say, listen, boy, if you don't do what we tell you, boy, you're going to be cut. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, if you look at the Dallas Cowboy roster, they've gotten rid of all the senior minority players that they had in the organization on offense and defense. Not just Dez Bryant, a couple of defensive backs and linemen are gone. These are the older guys in the organization. And so, really, there's no huge leadership when it comes to that side. Tyron Smith is probably the senior player.
Yeah.
I would love to see Tyron Smith, Ezekiel Elliott, and Dak Prescott take a knee for the national anthem. Call Stephen Jones' hand.
Yeah.
Cut the best left offensive tackle in the game.
Yeah.
Cut one of the top 3 running backs in the game. Cut one of the best up-and-coming running quarterbacks in the game because you have no backup for him, Charlton.
Yeah.
Cut him. I would like to see that. I would like to see the players that can't be replaced take a knee. Not just with the Cowboys, Charlton, throughout the NFL. If you're a starter, take a knee. Don't leave it to the guys that are backup. You're the starters that they count on. You're the top runner. Like we saw where the Cowboys were last year without Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
We saw where they were without Tyron Smith on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Take a knee, guys. You know, don't let this guy come up and thump you in the chest, tell you you cannot be a man.
Yeah.
But just because you work for him don't mean you can't get a job elsewhere. Charlton, any one of those players would gladly be picked up by another NFL team. Not only that, the lawsuit that would ensue for unjustly releasing the player.
Yeah.
And it's not a conduct detrimental because it's not a league policy. So you have an antitrust suit that you can come back and sue these guys on.
Yeah, I think that would be incredible, Big C. For guys to understand what your rights are, sometimes if you don't know what your rights are, then why even have them? I hope that people can say, no, you have a right to do what you want to do. If the team wants to cut you from the team and Prescott and Elliott and whoever else for standing up against racial injustice, bigotry, sexism, domestic violence, if they're going to cut you for that, but they brought Hardy onto the team, they got to look in the mirror and see what kind of message they're trying to send. I just don't think that makes any sense. But I do want to say everyone has a right to speak their mind. No one has to agree with it. But even Jerry Jones, at some point in time, you do want to stand up for your players. I know Emmitt Smith at the time was holding out because he couldn't get the money. Cowboys went 0-2, and he changed his tune. He signed them after some of the Cowboys tore up the locker room. Are we looking at that part 2, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I think so, Charlton, because you're challenging the players. You're challenging their manhood. This is a league of aggression, but it's also a league of understanding, Charlton. When you have players that understand the plight and they're empathetic towards people who don't have the livelihood that they have, Charlton, that don't receive the opportunity in life that they have gotten.
Yep.
They're looking out for the lesser person in society, not for themselves, for the lesser person in society. That's what they're trying to draw attention to.
Yeah.
They're not being Papa John's, who's getting banned from the league for using racial epithets.
The N-word.
Not once have the players gone out and racially profiled anybody or used any racial connotation towards anyone else, Charlton. They have not. They've been understanding, they've been polite, and they've tried to bring their cause across in a sympathetic way to make people understand by using the only platform they have.
Yeah.
If they held press conferences, Charlton, people wouldn't pay attention to the press conference. You know, the media would chew it up. But they make a stance, and they force the media to draw the negative connotation, not the players.
Yeah.
The media has drawn this negative connotation because as I spoke about a couple days ago, the NFL celebrates nonviolence towards women for an entire week, okay? And it's okay. They celebrate breast cancer awareness for an entire month. We all appreciate that, Charlton. But you talk about something that affects black people, no, we can't talk about that.
That's
This
horrible.
is not the platform for that. The NFL is not the platform to talk about what affects black people.
And what can keep
because
the kids
there's no
safe.
black owners.
That's a very good point. So hopefully, if you got a little bit of spine, challenge him on national TV. Maybe they can have him take the field instead of Prescott and Elliott. So I'm sure that if that were to happen, I'm sure Stephen Jones would run down there and suit up for Jerry Jones to keep them good old boys in Texas happy. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, you know, Charlton, the Yankees have made a trade for a couple of relief pitchers in the past week. One relief and one starter. Now they got to put in a prayer for the judge. You know, Aaron Judge last night, broke a bone in his hand last night being hit by a pitch. That's what's going to affect the Yankees more than anything, Charlton, in this postseason run.
Well, that would be nice to see all the Yankees that line up and do a prayer for a judge and have the ownership saying, hey, we don't tolerate praying or asking for social justice, but we tolerate it every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.